Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the HobbyDude 007 channel. Just a few miles from home, they have opened a brand new Harbor Freight, and I thought it'd be a great time just to share with you some of the tools that I use from Harbor Freight. Let's go in. When I arrived this morning, they were taking down the now open banner out front, and this is 1 month ago today that this store's been open, and this will be my third trip in. I got to get some sandpaper, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But getting inside, I get a lot of things in here that are rather inexpensive, but they're good for working on steering, and I keep them around the workbench. One of the things that I got eons ago at another location were drill bits, and they do that. While they don't carry the micro drill bits, they do carry a lot of the finer ones for drilling out things like exhaust ports, opening up stacks. If you're going to use, like if you're doing an out of box and you want to open the stacks a little bit, you've got some really nice drill bits that can be used, and they do have some that are almost, if you were doing military and you want to do some gun ports and stuff, they do have some smaller bits too. And they're priced right. This one, for example, is $2.99. Another little thing I thought was rather interesting was this miniature table saw. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what I would use such a thing for, but not in model building. But maybe in diorama building, I could see that. But as you see, it's just a very small table saw, and I just thought that was kind of cool. I hadn't seen that in any of the other locations before. And the reason for this visit, as I said, was sandpaper. And the thing I like about their sandpaper is there's 5 sheets in a pack. As you can see by the prices, it's a very good price. And it's 9 by 11, where most of your companies are 8.5 by 10. These are 9 by 11 sheets, and there's 5 sheets, as I said, and they carry from 80 grit all the way to 2,000. So pretty good stuff there. So this is my go-to there. And the other thing that's non-model related, I get my zip ties and all that stuff for squad room. So when we set up our tents and our cables and our banners and all that kind of stuff, I get a lot of little doodads that we use for squad room here too. Next up, a lot of guys carry their models to shows in this type of case, like a gun case or electronics case, something like that. And they have them in a couple of, as you saw there, variety of colors. And camera equipment, electronics tools, valuables. These cases are pretty good for transporting models to shows and all. And as you can see here in the picture on the right, how you can take the sections out to get your depth and your shape to your car or whatever it is that you're using. So pretty good stuff, and this is all in one place. Here's something else. If you airbrush or you paint a lot, when you're holding your paint holder, whether it's for body or parts, I always wear gloves because it's a whole lot easier. I usually get the 5mm, sometimes the 7, but most of the time the 5mm, because it's a 100 count box. So you get a 50 or 100 count box, and you get them in the variety of sizes too. And I usually get them a little bit big because it's not like I'm really doing surgery or anything. So gloves are a good idea. It keeps your hands from getting all painted up. I actually use it when I'm changing oil in my real car or things like that. I like to use them too because it does keep your hands clean. And next up, they have this small set of files. Now over the years, I've purchased more files and I know what to do with micro files, jeweler's files, things like that. But these are in the same line. You've got needle file set, and then you've got the diamond grit needle set. My regular just needle file set is invaluable. I use it all the time, whether it's with the Dremel, just cleaning up things. Sometimes they're worth having. They're worth having, and getting down into tight spots too. Next up is clamps. Now, you've seen on my workbench probably where I'll clamp an engine half or a transmission together using these. They're really nice. I really like them. And they also have a little bit larger black ones, and I use these to clamp bits and pieces onto chassis from time to time too. And if you wanted to get just a big bag of them that's a mixture of all kinds of sizes, this is a great deal. These Pittsburgh clamps are really good. I use them on about every project. And then also these clamps, I don't know the technical name and I didn't look it up, but they tighten up, like if you're putting together a chassis or things like that. You can tighten these down and then pop them right back off. So for larger projects, these are great, and I've got about 4 of these, and they come in a variety of sizes too. Next up, if you are painting guys, whether it's spray cans, spray bombing, or airbrush in the paint booth, whatever, please wear a respirator. Wear something that protects you. Ask Hippie Dude. He can tell you the importance of not breathing paint fumes. Actually, don't ask him. He'll say there might be fun in it. But there were a number of years that I did not use them, and it really is something you need to do. And this one, as you can see, is like $18, and they've got all the filters and changes and all that stuff. And also always look to make sure that the respirator has on it for paint spray, as you see here, recommended for paint spray. That's something that's very important. You don't want to breathe these chemicals. Over time, that can get to you. Next up, I took a picture of this just because I thought it was going to be kind of fun. If you wanted a micro lathe, this is not bad. I like the Shoreline myself. It's a small micro lathe for machining, for doing a lot of your own aluminum parts, especially pulleys, trim rings, wheels. There's a lot of things you can do with these, and it's a lot easier and a lot more fun than you would think. Machined aluminum looks really good on a model too, but this is a great little sample, and this is a mini, and I've looked at the sizes on the thing, and I believe you could use this for that purpose too. Next, these little bins that you can get in other places too for putting small parts, things like that. I have a little large one that has 2 or 3 bins of valve covers that are separated and things like that. But as you can see, you can compartmentalize. And I know 1 or 2 guys that use these, that when they do their project boxes, they call it, when they take the parts off the sprue, they put different parts in different bins, and they know right where everything is. So you can use it as a project box too. Next up is some airbrush and air compressor stuff. Both my Pache and my Awatas are both hooked up to this particular central pneumatic nylon braided air hose. This is a good hose. It's a long hose, and it's I've never had one of these fail. I've always had a lot of luck with them, and they're really affordable. But I recommend this one. It's really good. And this is something for $1.99 you cannot beat. About every 3 to 5 colors, depending on the type of paint I'm using in my airbrush, I strip it down and I clean it out really, really good. And this little puppy for $1.99 is awesome. It's airbrush cleaning brushes, and you can get up into all kinds of little cracks and crevices with this thing, and it really does a great job. In fact, I bought a second one because I bent one of the rods on, and it was my bad. It wasn't anything to do with the airbrush. It was operator error. But I've got it straightened out, and I hadn't even used the other one yet. Next up is the helping hands. I think about everybody has seen these things. It's a little rod that's got adjustable gator clip hands and magnifying glass. Now, I took the magnifying glass off mine because it was just kind of in the way to me. But for holding parts while you're either painting or assembling or gluing together, whatever, this is a nifty little gadget. And they also have this one, which is the helping hands with a larger magnifier with an LED light, and you see also the place where you would put a soldering iron. So if you do any electronic work, this would be ideal for that too, but I thought that was worth showing you as well. Forceps. Forceps, like those files I've had for years, a number of different sizes, both curved and straight. And I use forceps again on about every build. And I don't know how I'd do without them, but it's good to see that they do have those. And next up is, these are by Pittsburgh, and this carving set on the left, let me tell you, if for applying putty into tight spots or getting it to a certain shape, these are great for applying that stuff. And they actually work as a great scraper in a couple of spots too. Then the hook pick set, I've got an older one that's not the Pittsburgh brand, but these are really good when you're rescribing panel lines. I use these when I get around into curves to make sure I've got everything nice and curved areas around the bottoms of doors and things like that. I really find these work really well for that. And I like them. And again, these things are very affordable. Tweezers is another thing that I'm really impressed with this set of tweezers, because they've got 3 sets that are ultra fine point, which I really like. You got a set of locking tweezers in here, which I use quite a bit. And if I ever wear out, bend, whatever, any of the current ones I've used for a long time, this is probably a set that I'll get. And again, next to it there, another pick set. Next up, if you need a magnifying glass or a magnifying lamp, I think we've all seen these two that are on the swing arm that has the fluorescent tube around up inside it. These are really good. I've used one before. I'm usually knocking everything out of the way, so I wear my Optivisor now but about all the time with my glasses. Next up, let's talk airbrushes. They have this one from Central Pneumatic, which is a professional 6-color airbrush kit with holder. Guys, this thing comes with 6 airbrushes. It has the stand, 6 air hoses. It's an impressive thing. And by the way, so you got your colors coded. If you were a t-shirt artist or something like that, this would be great. But you've got the airbrushes. If you notice the handles, they're all different colors, so I guess you could keep track with all of that stuff. You've got a suction cup on the bottom. You can activate each of the airbrushes up to, I want to say it was 30 pounds. I'm not sure. 30 pounds of pressure. And this is kind of an interesting little thing. And I know of a number of people, I have not used this particular airbrush, but I know a number of people that have used the Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic airbrushes, and they say they're not bad at all. As long as they're atomizing the paint good, and I guess they are, because I haven't heard a complaint. If you remember the review of my workbench, you have seen this, and this is just an airbrush holder. It holds 4 airbrushes, and I think you've seen my 3, my Awatas and my Pache on it, and I like it. It's easy to get to. It's right by my paint booth. This little gadget here is awesome. This is the airbrush cleaning bottle. And another number of companies make this, but this one, for the price, you can't beat it. And it is really a good airbrush cleaner. You get your thinner, your acetate, or acetone, excuse me, in there, and just stick it down in the nozzle and blast away. As you see here in my paint booth, I'm using it with my Awata, and it does a fantastic job. It eliminates a lot of the fumes. Of course, I'm using it with a fan running too, but you don't have any splatter splashes, paint going everywhere, because it's all going right there into the bottle. But this thing is really, really good, and I haven't used an airbrush that it doesn't fit yet. And speaking of airbrushes, they are carrying now the Avante brand. And if you're not familiar with the Avante, This is a beginner semi to pro brush. This has got a beautiful feel to it. It itemizes the paint beautifully. Now this one is the number 0.5 millimeter, and this is a siphon feed. And this one, I guess, the bigger the head, the more paint you're going to put out. And if you're going to use a thicker thing, this would be pretty good for that too. I don't know about this one. I know the number 3 with the gravity feed, which we'll look at here in just a second, is a really good one too. But they do have that one available, and they have the 0.3 professional as well. And this actually is an outstanding. It's got a good heft to the weight of it. It atomizes the paint, and a number 3, 0.3 millimeter is a great size tip and needle for painting car bodies. This is really, really good. And it's good, as it says here, works with enamels, lacquers, oil, water-based, airbrush paints, all of that stuff. So it'll handle about anything. And like I said, this is a full metal construction throughout, got great O-rings and all in it. I am probably going to do a demo on one of these two coming up, because I'm really impressed for a $25 airbrush. This is an impressive airbrush. I haven't found anything bad with it yet. And hopefully, or I don't think I will, to be honest with you. Something else they carry is, of course, compressors. And for airbrush purposes, now you can have your big tank compressors and all that stuff. And I use both, to be honest with you. I've got a tank compressor, but I have this right by the paint booth. And this one is really quiet. Quiet operational. The technologies have changed, and these compressors are getting quieter in areas. This has constant pressure, and when I'm doing all clad, this is the compressor I use. It's the Central-Matic, and I've got the regulator on mine so I can regulate that. And as you see on the left side of the box, it also comes with the siphon feed airbrush. Just like that comes with the 6 station, same one. And this thing puts out up to 58, as it says, 58 maximum PSI. And I airbrush at, if I'm doing a body, it's about 20-25, and far less than that, probably around 7 to 10 when I'm doing all clad. This is a really good compressor. This one I can speak for because I use it. Next is the Avante compressor. Now this one also claims to be very quiet. It comes with a siphon feed airbrush, but this one has the number 1 tip on it, so it's going to be for some really tight work. I wouldn't recommend painting a body with a number 1. You could, it's just going to take a whole lot longer. And this is a dual action airbrush as well. And this compressor is also a quiet, I think they had it listed as quiet technology, and it's a constant flow, silent design, excuse me, that's what it is. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Next up, dial calipers. And I think you guys have seen me use my dial calipers, whether it's scratch building or checking the fit on an open fender well, whatever it is. I use my dial calipers quite a bit. And my first trip in, or second trip in, I picked up one of these for $9.99 because I use the old dial type. But this one is a digital caliper, and it is $9.99, and it's plastic. And I know my other dial calipers are stainless, and I checked them, and this thing is programmable for millimeters and for inches. And when I got home, I checked it against my my high dollar ones, and it is exact, it's spot on. So I was very impressed with that. So if you're doing any scratch building, this is a pretty good, nifty tool to have for less than $10. Another thing is if you do a ton of scratch building, these are technical, I think it's called measuring set, technical measuring set. And as you see, $9.99. There's I think it's 6 pieces in there. And now, honestly, some of those I would never use because I use the dial caliper and the compass. There's a few things that I definitely would use in there. But really, if you do scratch building, some really good stuff there. This one will get you maybe questioning. We all have sprue nippers, but these from Pittsburgh are micro flush cutters. Now, when I picked up a set of these for cutting spark plug wires, hose lines, things like that, and they do an outstanding job. I have not used them on sprue yet, but I'm going to be honest with you, I think they probably will do a pretty decent job. I like my Tamiya, I think, the best cutters, but again, for $3.99, it's a pretty good deal. Next, I get my heat sink here, or heat shrink. Heat sink, listen to me. Heat shrink is the 2 smallest sizes are the ones I use, and it lasts forever. It's got a great look and a great feel of roll bar padding. There's so much you can do with these things, and it's very affordable again. Compressors, you have an abundance of compressors that you can pick from. If you're using a simple airbrush like the little one we just looked at, you can jump on that. And as you see here, they have a variety of pretty good compressors in different size tanks. You can get some pretty big ones, and you can get the pancakes. I've got one of the biggest of the pancake in my garage that I keep up with the tractor and lawnmower tires and all that kind of stuff on the riding mower and all that kind of thing. And these are really nice. Next up, I want us to look at some actual paint guns. And the reason I wanted to share these with you is my buddy Ricky Couch, the late great Ricky Couch, was an auto body guy, and he used to use a door jamb gun to paint his models and had prolific, flawless paint jobs. And I had been thinking about doing something with one of these smaller ones, and this one got my attention right here. This one is a side feed, but check out the size. And it's got the same nozzle as does an automotive paint gun, a little bit smaller, and I thought, wow, this might be just the ticket. Pretty sharp. And this is a different one here. That's a gravity feed. But check that out, $13.99, 4-ounce side feed. I'm thinking about getting one of these things and giving it a shot and just see. I'm going to think about it, and I really do think I want to try that, though. And then you've got other paint guns, smaller ones that are a possibility to be used for model car building. There's also a section that is your fittings, compressor gauges, things like that for the air compressors. Moisture traps, that's another thing. If you have a compressor or an airbrush, you want to make sure you've got a moisture trap, because with humidity, if that stuff gets in the paint, you're going to have some problems. So always invest in a moisture trap. My Pache has a inline moisture trap in it, as well as the compressor has one. So I've kind of doubled it up, but that's not necessary. And this is the regulator and gauge that I have on the small central pneumatic, the small one that I showed you. and there's all kinds of other fittings. If you want to have a couple of hoses to just snap in and out of your compressor, you've got all kinds of adapters and quick connects. And guys, that is it. I'll be honest with you, you could probably go through Harbor Freight or other tool companies and find other stuff that I don't know. In fact, if you found other stuff, whether it's a Harbor Freight or other places that you want to share as far as tools and supplies for the workbench go, hey, stick it in the comments. I would love to hear it. Well, guys, that's our tour of Harbor Freight and some of the goodies that I use there and some things that I would like to maybe. Hey guys, head on over to HobbyNut Models. Check out Mark's inventory. You're going to like it. Pick you up some MCW paints and check out his tools as well. Some great stuff over there. Mark's a great guy, and he really looks after our hobby and we as modelers. So go over and check him out. Show him some love, guys. Well, guys, that's it for this one. I appreciate you tagging along. God loves you. I'll see you in the next video. See you guys.